Madhur 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 Baje, Madhur 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 Baje, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo. Bahu Koti Chandrini, O Varna Ujala. Bahu Koti Chandrini, Varna Ujala. Radhadesh TV Mala, Kore Jala Mala. Shiva Shukana Radha Premi Gada Gada. O Baka TV Radeke Gorana Sampado. O Gorangera Rotik Shobha Jaga Janna Manaloba. O Jaga Janna Manaloba, Jaga Janna Manaloba. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pisaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashitadishatarine. Prabhupada. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Shri Shri Gauranitai Jayo Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jayo Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Jagannath, Jayo Baladev, Jayo Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Jayo Prabhupada.
Jayo Vishnu Thakur, Namaste Kargadi, Jayo Asto Tara says, Sri Shimad Vandras, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Asto Tarasata Sri Shrimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Praise Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Radha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Vihat Madanga Kirtan Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Oh, glories to the assembled glories. Oh, glories to the assembled glories. Oh, glories to the assembled glories. Oh, glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, Lord, Namaste Narashinghaya.
Namaste Narasingaya.
Praladataye. Hiranyakasipurvaksaha. Sivatanka Nakolahe. Ito Nishinga Parato Nishingo. Yato Yato Yamita To Nishingo. Bahia Nishingo Ridaye Nishingo. Nishinga Madim Saranam Papadai. Tavakara Kamala Varena Kama Bhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranya Kasipu Tanu Bringam. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Bare Nakam Abhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranya Kasipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahare Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrsingadev 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 Jaya Nrsingadev Nrsingadev Jaya Nrsingadev Jaya Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Sringadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Prabhupada Ki Jai
be on a cushion. It's easier.
Yeah. Otherwise, we are just dragging, and then there will be lines on the marble. Yeah, because it's metal.
I don't think it's maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it will make.
Yeah.
After for so many rounds, it will be like a dent on the floor.
Very much true. You're staying for some time?
No, tomorrow I'm actually leaving, so this will be my last class today.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Yeah, I did not have to do that. The one with the knot is actually the master book.
Which one is the master?
The one with the knot?
Okay. I didn't know that. You see?
Because
There's the master.
everything will be there, so you know the exact page. So that's actually the reference book, I think.
Okay, like that. Thank you. Krishna, 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 Krishna. master book. So, we are reading from Krishna book. Is this on? Microphone? I don't know. We are reading from Krishna book, the battle between Shalva and the Yadu dynasty. Okay. Following his command, many warriors like Satyaki, Charudeshna, and Samba, all young brothers of Pradyumna, as well as Akrura, Kritavarma, Bhanuvinda, Gada, Shuka, and Sarana, all came out of the city to fight with Shalva. All of them were Maharathis, great warriors able to fight with thousands of men. All were fully equipped with necessary weapons and assisted by hundreds and thousands of charioteers, elephants, horses, and infantry soldiers. Fierce fighting began between the two parties, exactly like that formerly carried on between the demigods and the demons. The fighting was severe, and whoever observed the fierce nature of the fight felt his bodily hairs stand on end. Pradyumna immediately counteracted the mystic demonstration occasioned by the airplane of Shalva, the king of Zauba. By the mystic power of the airplane, Shalva had created a darkness as dense as night, but Pradyumna all of a sudden appeared like the rising sun. As with the rising of the sun, the darkness of the night is immediately dissipated. With the appearance of Pradyumna, the power exhibited by Shalva became null and void. Each of Pradyumna's arrows had a golden feather at the end, and the shaft was fitted with a sharp iron head. By releasing 25 such arrows, Pradyumna severely injured Shalva's commander-in-chief. He then released another 100 arrows toward the body of Shalva. After this, he pierced each and every soldier by releasing 1 arrow. He killed the chariot drivers by firing 10 arrows at each one of them, and he killed the carriers, like the horses and elephants, by releasing 3 arrows directed toward each one. When everyone present on the battlefield saw this wonderful feat of Pradyumna's, the great fighters on both sides praised his acts of chivalry. But still, the airplane occupied by Shalva was very mysterious. It was so extraordinary that sometimes many airplanes would appear to be in the sky, and sometimes there were apparently none. Sometimes the plane was visible, sometimes not visible, and the warriors of the Yadu dynasty were puzzled about the whereabouts of the peculiar airplane. Sometimes they would see the airplane on the ground, sometimes flying in the sky, sometimes resting on the peak of a hill, and sometimes floating on the water. The wonderful airplane flew in the sky like a whirlwind firebrand. It wasn't steady even for a moment. But despite the mysterious maneuvering of the airplane, the commanders and soldiers of the Yadu dynasty would immediately rush towards Shalva, wherever he was present with his airplane and soldiers. The arrows released by the dynasty of the Yadus were as brilliant as the sun and as dangerous as the tongues of serpents. All the soldiers fighting on behalf of Shalva soon became distressed by the incessant release of arrows upon them by the heroes of the Yadu dynasty, and Shalva himself became unconscious from the attack of these arrows. The soldiers fighting on behalf of Shalva were also very strong, and the release of their arrows also harassed the heroes of the Yadu dynasty. But still the Yadus were so strong and determined that they didn't move from their strategic positions. The heroes of the Yadu dynasty were determined either to die on the battlefield or to gain victory. They were confident that if they died in the fighting, they would attain a heavenly planet, and if they came out victorious, they would enjoy the world. The name of Shalva's commander-in-chief was Duman. He was very powerful, and although bitten by 25 Pradyumna's arrows, he suddenly attacked Pradyumna with his fierce club and struck him so strongly that Pradyumna became unconscious. Immediately there was a roaring, "Now he's dead, now he's dead." The force of the club on Pradyumna's chest was very severe, and it appeared as though his chest had been torn asunder. Pradyumna's chariot was being driven by the son of Daruka. According to Vedic military principles, the chariot driver and the hero on the chariot must cooperate during the fighting. As such, because it was the duty of the chariot driver to take care of the hero on the chariot during the dangerous, precarious fighting, Daruka's son removed Pradyumna from the battlefield. 2 hours later, in a quiet place, Pradyumna regained consciousness, and when he saw that he was in a place other than the battlefield, he addressed the charioteer and condemned him.
Oh, you have done the most abominable act. Why have you removed me from the battlefield, my dear charioteer? I have never heard that any of our family members was ever removed from the battlefield. None of them left the battlefield while fighting. By this removal, you have overburdened me with great defamation. It will be said that I left the battlefield while fighting was so going on. My dear charioteer, I must accuse you. You are the coward and emasculator. Tell me, how can I go before my uncle Balaram and my father Krishna, and what shall I say before them? Everyone will talk about me and say that I fell from the fighting place. And if they inquire from me about this, what will be my reply? My sister-in-law will play jokes upon me with sarcastic words. My dear hero, how have you become such a coward? How have you become such a Enoch? How have you become so low in the eyes of the fighters who opposed you? I think, my dear charioteer, that you have committed a great offense by removing me from the battlefield. The charioteer of the Pradyumna replied, My dear sir, I wish a long life for you. I think that I did nothing wrong. It is my duty of the charioteer to help the fighter in the chariot when he is in the precarious condition. My dear sir, you are completely competent in the battlefield, but it is the duty of the charioteer and the warrior to protect each other in the precarious condition. I was completely aware of the regulative principles of fighting, and I did my duty. The enemy all of a sudden struck you with his club so severely that you lost consciousness. You were in dangerous position, surrounded by your enemies. Therefore, I was obliged to act as I did. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of 76th chapter of Krishna, the battle between Salva and members of Yadu dynasty. So, chapter 77, the deliverance of Salva. After talking with this charioteer, the son of Daruka, Pradyumna could understand the real circumstances. Therefore, he refreshed himself by washing his mouth and hands, and after arming himself properly with bows and arrows, he asked the charioteer to take him near the place where Shalva's commander-in-chief was standing. During the short absence of Pradyumna from the battlefield, Duman, Salva's commander-in-chief, had been taking over the positions of the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Appearing on the battlefield, Pradyumna immediately stopped him and smiling, shot 8 arrows around him. With 4 arrows, he killed Dyumna's 4 horses, and with one arrow, his chariot driver, and with another arrow, he cut his bow into two. With another, he cut his flag to pieces, and with the last, he severed his head from his body. On the other fronts, heroes like Gada, Satyaki, and Samba were killing the soldiers of Salva. The soldiers staying with Salva in the airplane were also killed in the fighting, and they fell into the ocean. Each party began to strike the opposite party very severely in a fiercely dangerous battle that continued for 27 days without stopping. While the fighting was going on in the city of Dwarka, Krishna was staying at Indraprastha with the Pandavas and the king Yudhishthira. The fighting with Salva took place after the Rajasuya Yajna had been performed by the king Yudhishthira and after the killing of Shushpala. When Lord Krishna understood that there was a great danger in the city of Dwarka, he took permission from the elder members of the Pandava family, especially from his aunt Kunti Devi, and started immediately for Dwarka.
Lord Krishna began to think that while he was staying at Hastinapura with Balaram after the killing of Shishupal's men must have attacked Dwarka. On reaching Dwarka, Lord Krishna saw that the whole city was greatly endangered. He placed Balaramaji in a strategic position for the protection of the city, and he himself asked his charioteer, Daruka, to prepare to start. He said, Daruka, please immediately take me to where Shalva is staying. You may know that this Shalva is a very powerful, mysterious man. Don't fear him in the least. As soon as he got his orders from Lord Krishna, Daruka sent him seated on the chariot and drove very quickly towards Shalva. The chariot of Lord Krishna was marked with a flag bearing the insignia of Garuda, and as soon as the soldiers and warriors of the Yadu dynasty saw the flag, they could understand that Lord Krishna was on the battlefield. By this time, almost all the soldiers of Shalva had been killed. But when Shalva saw that Krishna had come to the battlefield, he released a great, powerful weapon which flew through the sky with a roaring sound like a great meteor. It was so bright that the whole sky was lit up by its presence. As soon as Lord Krishna appeared, he tore the great weapon into hundreds and thousands of pieces by releasing his own arrows. Lord Krishna struck Shalva with 16 arrows, and with showers of arrows he overpowered the airplane, just as the sun in a clear sky overpowers the whole sky by an unlimited number of molecules of sunshine. Shalva struck a severe blow to Krishna's left side, where the Lord carried his bow, Sharanga, and as a result, the Sharanga bow fell from Krishna's hand. This dropping of the bow was indeed wonderful. Great personalities and demigods who were observing the fight between Shalva and Krishna were most perturbed by this, and they exclaimed, Alas! Alas! Shalva thought that he had become victorious, and with a roaring sound he addressed Lord Krishna as follows. You rascal Krishna, you kidnapped Rukmini forcibly, even in our presence. You baffled my friend Shishupal and married Rukmini yourself. And in the great assembly of King Yudhishthir's Rajasuya Yagya, while my friend Shishupal was little absent-minded, you took an opportunity to kill him. Everyone thinks that you're a great fighter and that no one can conquer you. So now you have to prove your strength. I think that if you stand before me any longer with my sharp arrows, I shall send you to a place wherefrom you will never return. To this, Lord Krishna replied, Foolish Shalva, you are talking nonsensically. You do not know that the moment of death is already upon your head. Actual heroes don't talk much. They prove their prowess by practical exhibition of chivalrous activities. After saying this, Lord Krishna, in great anger, struck Shalva on the collarbone with his club so severely that Shalva began to vomit blood and tremble as if he were going to collapse from severe cold. Before Krishna was able to strike him again, however, Shalva became invisible by his mystic power. Within a few moments, a mysterious, unknown man came before Lord Krishna. Crying loudly, he bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet and said to him, Since you are the most beloved son of your father Vasudeva, your mother Devaki has sent me to inform you of the unfortunate news that Shalva has arrested your father and taken him away by force, just as a butcher mercilessly takes away an animal. When Lord Krishna heard this unfortunate news from the unknown man, he at first became most perturbed, just like an ordinary human being. His face showed signs of grief, and he began to cry in a piteous tone. How could this happen? My brother, Lord Balaram, is there, and it's impossible for anyone to conquer Balaramaji. He is in charge of Dwarka city, and I know he's always alert. How could Shalva possibly enter the city and arrest my father in that way? Whatever Shalva may be, his power is limited, so how could it be possible that he has conquered the strength of Balramji and taken away my father, arresting him as described by this man? Alas, destiny is after all very powerful. While Shri Krishna was thinking like this, Shalva brought before him in custody a man exactly resembling Vasudeva, his father.
These were all creations of the mystic power of Shalva. Shalva addressed Krishna, you rascal Krishna, look, this is your father who has begotten you and by whose mercy you are still living. Now just see how I kill your father. If you have any strength, try to save him. The mystic juggler Shalva, speaking in this way before Lord Krishna, immediately cut off the head of the false Vasudeva. Then, without hesitation, he took away the dead body and got into the airplane. Lord Krishna is the self-sufficient Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet, because he was playing the role of a human being, he became very depressed for a moment, as if he had actually lost his father. But at the next moment, he could understand that the arrest and killing of his father was demonstration of the mystic powers, while Shalva had learned from the demon Maya. Coming to his consciousness, he could see that there was no messenger and no head of his father, but that Shalva had left in his airplane, which was flying in the sky. He then began to think of slaying Shalva. Krishna's reaction in a controversial point among great authorities and saintly persons. How could Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all power and knowledge, be bewildered in such a way? Lamentation, aggrievement, and bewilderment are the characteristics of conditioned souls, but how can such things affect a person of the Supreme, who is full of knowledge? power, and all opulence. Actually, it is not at all possible that Lord Krishna was misled by the mystic juggler of Salva. He was displaying his pastime in playing the role of a human being. Great saintly persons and sages who are engaged in the devotional service of the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna and who have thus achieved the greatest perfection of self realization have transcended the bewilderments of the bodily concept of life. Lord Krishna is the ultimate goal of life of such saintly persons. How then could Krishna have been bewildered by the mystic juggler of Salva? The conclusion is that Lord Krishna's bewilderment was another opulence of his supreme personality. When Salva thought that Krishna had become bewildered by his mystic representations, he became encouraged and began to attack the Lord with great strength and energy by showering volleys of arrows upon him. But the enthusiasm of Salva can be compared to a speedy march of moths into a fire. Lord Krishna, by hurling his arrows with unfathomable strength, injured Salva, whose armor, bow, and jeweled helmet all scattered in pieces. With a crushing blow from Krishna's club, Salva's wonderful airplane burst into pieces and fell into the sea. Salva was very careful, and instead of crashing with the airplane, he managed to jump onto the land. He again rushed towards Lord Krishna. When Salva ran swiftly to attack Krishna with his glove, Lord Krishna cut off his hand, which flew to the ground with the club. Finally, deciding to kill him, the Lord took up his wonderful disc, which shone like a brilliant sun at the time of the dissolution of the material creation. When Lord Sri Krishna stood up with his disc to kill Salva, he appeared just like a mountain with a red sun rising over it. Lord Krishna then cut off Salva's head, and the head with its earrings and helmet fell to the ground. Salva was thus killed in the same way the Vrittasura was killed by Indra, the king of the heaven. When Salva was killed, all his soldiers and followers cried, "Alas, alas!" While Salva's men were just crying, the demigods from the heavenly planets showered flowers on Krishna and announced the victory by beating drums and blowing bugles. At that very moment, other friends of Shishupala, such as Dantavakra appeared on the scene to fight with Krishna and avenge the death of Shishupala and others. When Dantavakra appeared before Lord Krishna, he was extremely angry. Thus ends Bhagavad Gita purport of 77th chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of Salva.
The killing, chapter 78, the killing of Dantavakra, Viduratha, and Maharshana. After the demise of Shishupal, Shalva, and Pondraka, a foolish demoniac king in the name Dantavakra wanted to kill Krishna to avenge the death of his friend Shalva. He became so agitated that he appeared on the battlefield without the proper arms and ammunition, and without even a chariot. His only weapon was his great anger, which was red hot. He carried only a club in his hand, but he was so powerful that when he moved, everyone felt the earth tremble. When Lord Krishna saw him approaching in a very heroic mood, he immediately got down from his chariot, for it was a rule of military etiquette that fighting should take place only between equals. Knowing that Dantavakra was alone and armed only with a club, Lord Krishna responded similarly and prepared himself by taking his club in his hand. When Krishna appeared before him, Dantavakra's heroic march was immediately stopped, just as the great, furious waves of the ocean are stopped by the beach. At that time, Dantavakra, who was the king of Karusha, stood firmly with his club and spoke to Lord Krishna as follows. It is a great pleasure and fortunate opportunity, Krishna, that we are seeing each other face to face. My dear Krishna, after all, you're my maternal cousin, and I shouldn't kill you in this way. But unfortunately, you have committed a great mistake by killing my friend Shalva. Moreover, you are not satisfied by killing my friend. I know that you want to kill me also. Because of your determination, I must kill you by tearing you to pieces with my club. Krishna, although you're my relative, you're foolish. You're our greatest enemy, so I must kill you today, just as a person removes a boil on his body by a surgical operation. I am always very much obliged to my friends, and I therefore consider myself indebted to my dear friend Shalva. I can liquidate my indebtedness to him only by killing you. As the caretaker of an elephant tries to control the animal by striking it with his trident, Dantavakra tried to control Krishna simply by speaking strong words. After finishing his vituperation, he struck Krishna on the head with his club and made a roaring sound like a lion. But Krishna, although struck strongly by the club of Dantavakra, didn't move even an inch, nor did he feel any pain. Taking his Kaumodaki club and moving very skillfully, Krishna struck Dantavakra's chest so fiercely that Dantavakra's heart split in twain. As a result, Dantavakra began to vomit blood, his hair scattered, and he fell to the ground, spreading his hands and legs. Within only a few minutes, all that remained of Dantavakra was a dead body on the ground. After the death of Dantavakra, just as at the time of Shishupal's death, in the presence of all the persons standing there, a small particle of spiritual effulgence came out of the demon's body and very wonderfully merged into the body of Lord Krishna. Dantavakra had a brother named Vidurata, who was overwhelmed with grief at Dantavakra's death. Out of grief and anger, Vidurata was breathing very heavily, and just to avenge the death of his brother, he appeared before Lord Krishna with a sword and a shield in his hands. He wanted to kill Krishna immediately. When Lord Krishna understood that Vidurata was looking for the opportunity to strike him with his sword, he employed his Sudarshan chakra, his razor-sharp disc, and without delay cut off Vidurata's head with his helmet and earrings. This way, after killing Shalva and destroying his wonderful airplane, and then killing Dantavakra and Vidurata, Lord Krishna at last entered his city, Dwaraka. It wouldn't have been possible for anyone but Krishna to kill these great heroes, and therefore all the demigods from heaven and the human beings on the surface of the globe were glorifying him. Great sages and ascetics, the denizens of the Siddha and Gandharva planets, the denizens known as Vidyadharas, Vasuki and the Mahanagas, the beautiful angels, the inhabitants of Pitriloka, the Yakshas, the Kinnaras, and the Charanas, all showered flowers upon him and sang songs of his victory in great jubilation.
Decorating the entire city with very festively, the citizens of Dwaraka held a great celebration. And when Lord Krishna passed through the city, all the members of Vrishni, Vrishni dynasty and the heroes of the Yadu dynasty followed him with great respect. These are some of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, the the master of all mystic power and the lord of all cosmic manifestations. Those who are fools, who are like animals, sometimes think that Krishna is defeated, but factually, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, and no one can defeat him. He always remains victorious over everyone. He alone is God, and all others are his subservient order carriers. Once upon a time, Lord Balarama heard that an arrangement was being made for a fight between the two rival parties in the Kuru dynasty, one headed by Duryodhana and the other by the Pandavas. He did not look the idea. He did not like the idea, and he tried to act as mediator to stop the fighting. Finding it impossible and not wishing to take an active part on behalf of either party, he left Dwaraka on the plea of visiting various holy places of pilgrimage. He first of all visited the place of pilgrimage known as Prabhasa Kshetra. He took his bath there, and he pacified the local Brahmanas and offered oblations or to the demigods, pitas, great sages, and the people in general. In accordance with the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, that is the Vedic method of visiting holy places. After this, accompanied by some respectful Brahmanas, he decided to visit different places on the bank of the river Saraswati. He gradually visited such places as Pitrudaka, Bindusura, Tripata, Triptakupa, Sudarshana Tirtha, Vishala Tirtha, Brahma Tirtha, and Chakra Tirtha. Besides these, he also visited all the holy places on the bank of the Saraswati river running towards the east. After this, he visited all the principal holy places on the bank of the Yamuna and on the bank of the Ganges. Thus, he gradually came to the holy place known as Narsimharayana. Nairasimharayana. So, sorry. Thus, he gradually came to the holy place known as Naimishirayana. Naimishirayana is still existing in India, and in the ancient times it was especially used for the meetings of great sages and saintly persons with the aim of understanding spiritual life and self realization. When Lord Balarama visited that place, there was a great sacrifice being performed by the great assembly of transcendentalists. Such meeting was planned to last thousands of years. When Balaram arrived, all the participants in the meeting, great sages, ascetics, brahmanas, and learned scholars, immediately arose from their seats and welcomed him with great honor and respect. Some offered him respects by standing up and then paying obeisances, and those who were elderly great sages and brahmanas offered him blessings after standing up. After this formality, Lord Balaram was offered a suitable seat, and everyone present worshipped him. Everyone in the assembly stood up in the presence of Balaram because they knew him to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Education or learning means means to understand the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, although Lord Balaram appeared on the earth as a Kshatriya, all the Brahmanas and the sages stood up because they knew who Lord Balaram was. Unfortunately, after being. Okay. So, you know where to start tomorrow. Experiment.
Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuro Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Hare Nama Hare Nameva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva 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 Gatiranyata. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh! Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, bolo everyone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, One more time, a little louder. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo everyone, one more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 One more time, everyone, a little louder. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama One more time all together, Bolu. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. As one voice all together, everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. One more time, all together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Bolo Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. All together one more time. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama. A little louder, everyone. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Shri Radha Gopinath Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande